are going to play some more with watercolors today. As you see, I've got a blank paper today because we're going to try something different. We're going to work with transparent flowers. Now I'm going to show you an example of one I tried, or some things I've tried. So basically this is some testing I did for the colors I was looking at. And I have my petals, and you see they're very pale, and that's one of the things you're looking for, is very pale. And what I did with that was I made my first attempt, and I really like this top one, but I'm not as happy with the bottom two because the top one is wider and the petals are not overlapping quite as much, and so they don't look quite as gray and muddy as the bottom two. So we're going to give it another shot. The whole thing about transparent flowers is that you're putting layers of petals, and you can see the bottom petal through the top petal because of the very transparent nature of the flowers. So the colors we're going to use today is we're going to use a mixture of my burnt umber with some black, and that's going to give us sort of a brownish black. And that's going to give us a nice color for our transparent leaves. Sort of a pale brown, sort of a gray brown, I guess. And that's going to be one of our main colors. The other color we're going to be using, and you'll notice I've got 3 different brushes going. So the secondary color is going to be our burnt sienna, and that is going to be for highlights on our petals. And then our final color will be for the stems and the leaves. And that's going to be a mixture of Prussian blue, I'm not sure I grabbed the right blue, but that's okay, and some black, sort of to give us almost a Payne's gray type look, but a little bit more black. And we'll add that in when we need that, probably not until we're a couple layers in. So I've got those all sort of started, and I'm trying to keep my 3 different paintbrushes in 3 different sizes away from each other, and we'll see how that works. Okay, so to get started, we're going to put the first layer of petals down. Now for each petal, you don't want to make them, you don't want your different petals to touch on any one layer. So we're going to start here. And if you need to turn your paper to get your brush at the angle you want, go ahead. But so what I want is to put this first petal in. And put that a little bit too close together, but that's okay. So we're going to put this first petal in, and what I like to do is sort of fill in the petal with the water and the pigment, and let that sit just a second, and that way it's sort of making sure that the paper is nice and wet and that the pigment gets a chance to really soak in and give you a nice color. I don't want it very dark, I want it fairly pale, so we're pulling off a lot of that pigment along with the water. And then while it's still wet, you're going to take that secondary color, and that's our sienna, and we're just going to touch a little bit and let it bleed. And I got a little more than I wanted, so I'm going to try and pull some of it back. Let it bleed into the petal. I had a little too much water on that brush. So we're just getting started, and I didn't make sure that brush was dry enough. And we just want to let it bleed naturally into the petal. You don't want to put too much on, you don't want too little. I got a little more than I really wanted there, but we're gonna just deal with it. Now we're gonna put the second petal, and we want the second petal to point into the same spot, but we don't want our two petals to touch. So we wanna start close to each other. And we want this one to come out. And again, we wanna give a lot of color and water to this petal just to get it started. And then we're going to pull that all off with a dry brush. And as we go through this, I'll probably have to speed up some of the later petals, which is why I'm trying to tell you exactly what I'm doing now. But I wanted you to see these first ones at sort of the speed that we want to do them. So now that I've got that petal, got most of the water pulled out of it, I've got it dulled down a bit in tone. Then again, we're going to take our Sienna, and I'm going to make sure to get rid of some of that excess water out of it. We're just going to drop a little here on the edge and let it do its own thing. We want it to sort of bleed in. Now we're going to pause a minute because we need these to completely dry, so I'm going to go put those under the hair dryer, and once they're dry we'll be back. Now the reason you want this completely dry before you put the next layer on is you're layering your petals, and you don't want the color from the second layer of petals to be bleeding into these, or these colors to bleed into it. You want them to stay very separate, but they're all going to look the same. Again, we're going to fill it up and reshape it a little if we want. And then we're going to pull the color off this one, and as you'll see, we can now see this petal, but we can still see the other two and the lines for the other two. And so you want to make sure that you're pulling the color back off so that you're keeping those additional lines. leaves with it. Add one more set of leaves. So I'm going to dry this completely, and then we're going to add, I think, like 2 more petals to each one, and then we'll be done. Okay, we're all dry again. You do want to make sure you're really dry, because if you are not really dry between your layers, it will be a disaster because all the color will pull and smear between the different ones, and it won't do what you're looking for. Except for this one petal, which got a little too dark. I'm really very pleased this time. You're seeing the layering in the petals. We're going to finish up those stems. I'm going to dry this and then I'll give you a bit of a close-up. Okay, final results. Now, like I said, that first try I did, they were a little tight, they got a little muddy looking, wasn't super happy, but now, oh, so much brighter. You can see the leaves, the petals that are under the petals. You can see all those different layers. There's so much brighter looking, so much happier with this one. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment, subscribe to my channel, and hit that notification bell when I so you know when I upload more videos. Now, this is part of Friday with Friends, so please go down to the description box and follow along with all the links. And I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful weekend.